Hi guys. In this Escape from Tarkov video, I'm going to be telling you some things that will help you flatten the curve in terms of learning Tarkov, in terms of some things that like the most veteran of players already know and are exploiting to their advantage, and that's not included in what should be a Tarkov learning guide in a sense. So one of the first things I'm going to touch upon is when you're getting into gunfights. And this is kind of like a big category because it's what this game is surrounded by. It's all it really is, right? So, some of the things you need to keep in mind for gunfights, right, are, you know, how long have these people been shooting here? If you're the first person there, are you suppressed? Is the other person suppressed? And keep in mind, in the background of things, in this video, I am showing content that is sometimes related and not related. This is just background info, just to kind of keep your attention while I'm rambling through things, sort of say. But as I was saying, how long have things been going on for? How long? Who has been shooting? If they're suppressed or unsuppressed. You should always have these kind of mental counters in your head, right? Because especially once you start getting late wipe of the game, you have people that are only playing for PvP and not so much quest oriented. So as if someone hears a grenade go off, they are thinking one of two things. One is a PMC on PMC fight, or there was a PMC in the area, and or there was a raider. Anyone that is trying to just fight people are going to push a grenade, and grenades can be heard throughout the map, basically. There are very few maps to where when a grenade can go off and not over 75 to 80% of the population of that map are going to hear that grenade. So keep in mind that once a grenade goes off, if you kill a guy like just then or however long after the fact, always kind of keep in mind that there's this one person rule. You should always expect there to be an outsider, a rat, or someone that's just waiting for you to move, waiting for you to make the first move and uh, expose yourself while they slow crouch walk while you're shuffling through a bag or you're packing your bag or you're healing up. They're listening for all these cues to either just wait for you, take you when you're most vulnerable, when you're trying to leave the area and you did all the looting for them, or they're just going to storm right in there and get you. Always have that one person rule in mind because you don't want to think like, oh, you know, I killed, 5 or 6 people. Everyone else is going to be doing their own thing, or they're not going to even be considering of me over here. You know how many times people have been killed once they did all the work, all the legwork, and you have, some scabby boy coming through with his little AK, you know, 209 or whatever, with some single shot EKM rounds, and just one taps a dude in the head, takes his gear and all the other people's gear, and gets out. All the undeserved loot he just got. It's just Tarkov. So always think of the one person rule. Um, if there are suppressed shots in the area and it's not at you, and now I'm not talking about ricochets. Ricochets can be a number of things. Someone could throw a grenade, let's say, like in the game, a half mile away from you. Those ricochets, those fragmentations from that grenade can travel wildly. And even if you throw that grenade, it can sound like someone fragmentation hits behind you, and it sounds like someone just took a shot at you. So it's kind of hard to understand what is fragmentation in Tarkov and what is bullet shots uh, at and or near you, especially with sometimes Tarkov having this mythical suppression to where it looks like you're getting shot at, but it's really your buddy like 15 feet in front of you shooting. Just try to keep that in mind whenever you are playing. If you hear a suppressed shot around you and it's not at you, and you know it's like another PMC or a raider or whatever, keep in mind that if you are hearing the suppressed shot, like the bullet leaving the gun, not just the impact, if you're hearing these shots, there is someone in your area within 2 or 3 seconds of running. That means just about in any direction that you run, 2 or 3 seconds, you should see that. Not every direction, but any direction. There's someone within a 2 to 3 second run near you. That means they're going to hear you run. They're going to hear, um, reloads, healing, and you should almost be hearing the exact same. 2 to 3 seconds. Some people might be like, well, that seems like they're pretty close. I could actually hear suppressed shots a lot further. The reason I undershoot it is that makes you think and it makes you play a lot more defensively. Or if you're pushing those shots, you can be a lot more aggressive and you can push directly to where you heard it. And you can expect them to be a lot closer than what they are. If you expect something to happen before it actually happens, you're going to be ahead of the curve rather than thinking, oh, I still got a couple of seconds to, check my mag or whatever. You don't want to get caught in some kind of animation. Always think of how to better position yourself in those situations. If it's better for you just to hang out in the bush near you, let the sounds kind of play out. If you hear them run away and you don't want to push, then go the other way. Suppressed shots or loud shots. Both can be equally as deadly because it doesn't deal with, damage of this gun like other games. But loud shots, a lot more people are going to chase. Suppressed shots, you're able to have, kind of your private battle with people, in a sense, if both sides suppressed. But as soon as that grenade goes off, just think, I'm on a counter, more people are going to join. How do you want to play the situation? You don't want to just wait 5 minutes, then push a person because anyone else that heard that grenade 5 minutes ago is going to be looking in the area and you could be the vulnerable person that gets taken out in the middle of things. Also, when you're in firefights and you're trying to, understand what is going on, who took shots at who, how to kind of pinpoint people, right? So you kind of have to treat Tarkov as, in a sense, like a murder scene whenever something goes down, right? Try to, if this person was shooting right here and he missed a couple of shots, try to look, for bullet impacts on the wall or try to figure out where he could have shot from. Because if he shot from this angle, he'd have to hit this behind me. So it's a very good way, and map knowledge really helps. And it's something that it's going to take a while for you to understand and kind of put your map knowledge in with your surroundings. But try to keep that in mind whenever you're trying to use that one person rule. If someone took a shot at you and then you kill someone shortly thereafter, like, wait, could that person taken those shots just previously and then meet me like upstairs and then I kill him? Is there someone else? Was his buddy outside shooting me from the outside of the building while he rushed in and the audio was just, non-existent? Some things to kind of keep in mind. When you're kind of combating scavs, this is also another big topic for people that are thinking, oh, it's just a scav, I'm gonna push right on, especially for the newer players that aren't as confident with their shooting, or they're thinking that all bullets and all calibers do the same damage. This all kind of runs into each other, this topic. Ammo penetration, ammo damage, and damage to certain types of armor, so on and so forth. I'm going to leave a link in the description here that's going to talk about all the calibers in the game and each type of bullet that goes with each caliber, and that talks about the ammo and damage penetration models, what it does to certain types of armor, so on and so forth. To kind of backtrack, what this means is when you're, attacking scavs, for say, if you're going head on with scavs, it's normal baby scavs. They're running around with shotguns or whatever. It will tell you what their gun damage is or their ammo damage is, and what, not necessarily that document I'm going to share to you is going to show you what rounds they're going to run with, but it's going to tell you the potential once you play the game and you understand what kind of ammo they run, then you can look at their stats, what their stats can do to you, so on and so forth. When taking on scavs, if you can, do not take them on just head to head every time, because it just takes one shotgun scav to have the golden pellet shot that goes right through your condors. It goes through your, you know, goes right head eyes you. That awesome head eyes of Tarkov that they just like to bless people with. If you can, especially if you're new, I highly suggest, quickly just running around the corner, disengaging, making that scav move, finding him, and then just taking a couple of shots. And then once he snaps onto you, after you've taken 2 or 3 shots and you say you missed all three, disengage, find another route. The last thing you want to do is take a shot for shot match going back and forth with a scav. Because after so long, their accuracy, it seems like it hones in. I usually play with like a 3-shot rule. If a scav shoots at you 3 times, either that third shot's going to kill you, or the shot after that's going to kill you. Unless you're using some high-end armor, but 9 times out of 10, I like to play that third shot's going to kill you. If they're about to hit that third shot, they just hit that third shot, disengage, find them another route. Say you're facing raiders and they're always on top of you and they're always lighting you up, and you keep running and running and running. Scavs are programmed to see you running through walls in Tarkov. It's a crazy concept. Like, the AI in this game is very smart, at the same time as dumb. If you know the exploits will help you eliminate them as fast as possible. For instance, if you are, for say, on shoreline, you're taking out Sanitar. If you crouch for a period of time after they shot at you, say you're in a house, they shot at you, you're pinned inside the house, they're outside the house, just locked onto your window. If you crouch inside the house, do your thing, heal up or whatever, you're going to hear them talk or kind of notify you that they're disengaging. Like, they're going to say some Russian fucking phrase, and then they're going to start walking away. That's them disengaging from you. Their code doesn't see you. They're not locked onto you anymore. So if you can, go downstairs quietly if you can, unlock a door, and just slowly kind of like pie out the door, for to say, like slowly, take out chunks of the environment outside. Just have your gun ADS, and just slowly just pan around. But always keep in mind, if you hear them yell, Granada, or something to kind of signify, or some sound that a grenade went, if you hear Granada, expect a grenade. You do not need to hear the grenade. Their scavs, especially scav bosses, are known to air burst. Air bursting is when you throw a grenade up in the sky, and before it hits, it fragments and throws all the fragmentation down at you, and it's like raining hell, and it's a really fun way to die from. Do not suggest it. But crouching will help you disengage from scavs if you're in a building, and use those scavs. On another side note, use those scavs if you're hearing them fight someone. If you see a scav kind of locked on, aiming, say, at a building, and they're sidestepping or whatever, there's a reason for that. That scav is seeing that player they were just fighting through the walls and is staying, just like I was saying before, they're staying locked on until that person either breaks line of sight like they have, or until that person is crouched long enough, quiet long enough to where that scav disengages and breaks his aim lock. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind for scavs. With the ammo that I mentioned earlier, regular scavs, if you're using high tier ammo, let's say you're using M995, or no, let's go to 545 by 39. That is the AK round, which is very cheap. The top 3 ammo types for that are BT, BS, and Eaglenik. The reason I bring up this specifically is you'll hear a lot of people late game do not want to touch 545 by 39. Reason being is that some scavs will eat and literally eat that ammo for breakfast. They'll sit there and suck down like 10 shots before they die. It's not that that round is terrible, but when you get 545, 549, and you're using Eagle Nick or BS, that has more of a kind of higher penetration idea behind it than it does a damage module. Um, Scavs that aren't using armor aren't going to have that spread, that splash damage whenever they're getting hit by that or when their armor is getting hit with that penetration model. So in a sense, you're always going to want to use BT ammo, or 9 times out of 10, use BT ammo on scavs than you would on players. But BT is also a very decent round if you're broke to be using against players. Eagle Nick is what people are going to run late game because they're going to have the money, but they hate running it, especially late game, because of how much scavs will eat. That is where that bullet chart that I mentioned before comes in handy, because if you can look at the penetration models, I don't know why I keep saying models, and you can look at the damage models. If you see any damage model that's above, let's say, like 70-ish to 80, you're going to see one taps on people. That's why sometimes you'll see 366 AP, which is a single shot round that goes in the, if I correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the AKs. It's like the VPO 209 or something like that, or the VPO 215, which is the bolt action rifle. That can one tap naked people with that aren't wearing any armor or scavs, not being a headshot, of course. Um, but there are some other rounds that are going to take more shots. Using those ammo types to understand what's it going to take to drop that person wearing this type of armor, or that scav wearing this type of armor, knowing where they spawn and what to expect on those people. Yes, scavs do have a randomized loot pool that they wear and are randomize their gear. But if you can understand that, hey, regular scavs only spawn here, there's a chance for raiders to spawn over here. And so if you're shooting a raider with what you'd use for regular scav ammo killing, then if you're shooting that raider, you're gonna have to adjust your plan of attack. That's where that chart comes in handy. I know that was a big ramble, but highly suggest, like in my last video, to look at that ammo chart, understand it, use it over and over again until you almost have memorized as much as you can. Um, so one of the other things that are a beautiful way to Tarkov, to, in a sense, Tarkov in all those action movies you see people running around throwing grenades. Tarkov doesn't believe those two things exist. So you cannot run and throw a grenade at the same time. For some reason, just don't do it. You're going to have a grenade in your hand and you're going to run, and it's just going to catapult it to the ground in front of you, and you're going to run on top of your grenade and you're going to die. It's dumb. To keep in mind with those grenades, right? Each grenade type has a different fuse length. Understanding the fuse length, how to play those fuse lengths, can be the difference between you winning and losing a gunfight. Whether if you push people, say you throw a grenade very close to you so that they can't push you, but then you can run over the grenade and it'll be far enough behind you and you can push and attack them. Or you throw the grenade at them and push past the grenade really quickly, and you push and attack them while they're turned around, not looking for you at you. Grenades are just as dangerous for you as it is for your opponents, of course. Um, but I always try to play it as grenades are your safety net, your backbone. So if someone starts pushing you, you want someone to stay away from you, throw a grenade. Throw a grenade down at your 5 feet in front of you so it rolls forward. You can almost guarantee that anyone that has that grenade rolled in between you, they're not going to push that. Depending upon how the situation pans out, everything is different. Last area I want to touch on is your space management. Don't forget that you can use R to rotate items from fitting things into your bags or your pouches, so on and so forth. Your other things you want to keep in mind is insurance fraud. Insurance fraud is something very uh, useful to utilize for as far as getting and obtaining more gear, putting yourself in a position to where if you die, you're definitely not going to lose your gear. Say you fought someone with the same gun as you. We'll use the M4. Say someone fought you. They had an M4. You had an M4. Um, we'll say straight across the board, both of you guys are using a Valde and a suppressor on your M4. Similar ergo, similar vertical recoil, so on and so forth. If you just take your magazine out, dip your gun in a bush, and you use his gun for the rest of the raid, no matter what, if you die, you're gonna get your gun back 9 times out of 10. Unless someone gets really lucky, comes across your bush that you dumped your gear in. So make sure you're putting your stuff in spots that will have the least amount of chance to be discovered. Another little quick tip, dumping your gear. For instance, if you go to Shoreline, or I think Shoreline's the only place, you'll know your spots as soon as the more you play these games. If you're playing on Shoreline, you're down by the waterfront. If you run up to the waterfront, facing the waterfront, if you dump your gun, it'll fall into the water. It'll float all the way down into the water. No one can get it. You can 100% guarantee you're going to get your gear back that way. Sometimes it'll just stop right at the edge of the water and people won't be able to grab it still. So keep that in mind if you're playing Shoreline and you're trying to find some quick and easy ways to dump your gear that you can guarantee you're going to get your stuff back. Insurance fraud will guarantee the most growth for your stash, as far as just getting better gear and such out. And it will help with your weight and space management up front, especially while on the raid, because once you're starting out or even later throughout the wipe, your person won't be as overburdened carrying certain amounts of gear as they were to be when they start the wipe. That's just the best way all the way around to take out all the gear as you can. Don't let greed catch up with you, though. I say that in a very honest matter. I catch myself always trying to maximize loot, especially later raid, right? Later raid, I tried later game, or hell, yeah, late raid too. I try to, no one's here. I kind of forget about that, that another person rule. There's always another person out there lurking. And I sit there and I'll loot and I'll loot and I'll loot and I'll be deep in the sauce of the loot pit, right? And I'll be so heavy when I get done putting all my stuff on and I didn't bring a mule stem. I'll be so heavy to where I have to walk and crawl almost everywhere, just making me literally a slug and a walking target for someone just to come by and just get a quick headshot off of, get all my gear that I fought so hard, looted so hard for, and they're gonna have their way. Well, guys, between this video and my last video, I hope that is I hope that it gives you the best flattening the curve of Tarkov as I can give you. Tarkov is a very hard game to kind of stumble through, try to learn. It's just, I just really hope this helps you understand the game, kind of gives you the tips and tricks you need to know as soon as possible, or some of the tips and tricks you didn't know if you're, a player that has been playing Tarkov for, a wipe or two, and I said something throughout this video. I hope it really helps. And if there's something big enough, or there are things big enough that I missed, please, guys, let me know throughout the video. Or just drop comments, send me a message, and I will, if there's enough of them, I'll make a new video. Or I'll repolish a video, and I'll make it so that everything is touched upon and everything is, said, so that people coming into the game can have the easiest way adapting to the game. That way, we have a bigger player base and all around more loot for the rest of us. Well, guys, thanks again.